Hi, friends. Happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining me today for episode number 18 of Quarantine Kitchen. I'm Kristen Elliott, one of the food bank dietitians here at the Atlanta Community Food Bank. And today I'm going to do something a little bit different. So generally, I use recipes for the ideas that I share with you all using some of our food bank foods. But today I decided to do something a little bit different and to act as if I was trying to turn a packaged meal, into something else without using a recipe. So I'm going to walk you through my thought process as I do this and show you 3 different ways you can use a particular pre-prepared food. So one thing about pre-prepared foods or convenience foods, they have a bad reputation of having high salt or high saturated fat or a lot of sugar or preservatives, because all of those things are necessary in some capacity to extend the shelf life of the food item. So there are ways to use these convenience items in a way that makes the entire overall dish healthy. So you're not focusing on the nutrition content of the one ingredient. So instead of calling the packaged meal a meal, we're going to call it an ingredient, and we're going to work from there. So let me just give this a stir real quick. So what I'm working with today is these jackfruit meals that we currently have in our food bank inventory. So these are under GNAP. So these are for our food pantries who participate in that program, and they distribute these directly to families that have children in the household. So this one is called Jackfruit Complete Meal, and it has black beans, corn, and the Tex-Mex spice all mixed into it. This pouch is considered one serving. So one serving doesn't go very far if you have a large household with kids. So what I'm going to do is talk about ways to make this feed more people and to make the nutrition of this spread across more servings. So this one in general has pretty decent looking nutrition on the nutrition label. So we're looking at 20% sodium. So that's for your whole daily needs, 20%. That's not too bad for a complete meal. And then we're looking at 11 grams of fiber. That's really high and fantastic. We're going to spread that out for some more people to have some servings. And then as far as fat goes, we are looking at 7 grams of total fat and then 1 gram of saturated fat. So generally, this meal is healthy, but it only serves one person. So let's talk about how we can make it feed more people, or for less people for more meals. Okay? I'm really excited about this. I had to get really creative with this, and you can use the ideas that I'm walking through here with different types of prepackaged meals, and I will talk about that a little bit more. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this meal and I'm going to turn it into a quesadilla mix. So this is the most simple version of modifying our meal to make more serving. So first I started off with some onion that I'm sauteing here in the pan. And then I'm just going to add some garlic because I love garlic. You can add fresh or you can add dried garlic. That is totally up to you. I recommend that you taste your meal before you start cooking with it to see what the flavors are. So it may say Tex-Mex, but it may have a stronger bit of cumin than it does chili powder, or vice versa. So you can use the flavor of the meal to extend it. So you're thinking, can I match the flavors instead of trying to cover them up with something else? Because that can make for some weird flavors. So try to match the flavors. So my flavors that I'm going to match today are chili powder, cumin, and oregano. And those are commonly found in your taco seasoning packet. So that's what this is, a little combo of cumin, chili powder, oregano. And then I've got my extra containers here, so I can add more as I feel like it needs. So we're working off of taste here today. The one thing that I'm going to not add until the very end of each dish is salt. We want to consider where the salt is coming from all of our ingredients before we add more salt to our dish. So here's my onions and my garlic. It looks really good. This is for my quesadilla filling. So this in this bowl is the jackfruit meal. So there's some of these white bits in here, like this chunk right here. That is a bit of jackfruit. So if you're not familiar with jackfruit, it is a tropical fruit that you can find in South Asia, India, and some in the Caribbean. And it's a very delicious, sweet tropical fruit. But one thing that's cool about it is that you can, when you cook it, the fruit pieces spread and it looks like a pulled meat, like a pork or a chicken. And you can use that in place of animal protein because it does have a decent amount of protein in it. So one thing I'm going to do as I'm cooking this down a little bit is I'm going to break up these chunks so that they are more like whole meat consistency. Let me turn this. Okay, there we go. So just onions and garlic here that I added. So you honestly can take this pouch and reheat it and put it in. I'm just adding some things because I like the cooking process and I think the like cutting and prepping is very therapeutic. I enjoy it. So that's why I'm doing it. If you don't enjoy it, don't do it. Just like exercise. Find the type that you like and don't force yourself to do something that you don't like because you're not going to do it. Okay. So I'm going to just add a little bit of my little mixed Mexican seasoning here just to like bump it up a little. If you like spicy, feel free to add some red pepper flakes or some cayenne. I've got my ground red pepper that I might add. For me, I know I like spicy a little bit. Okay. So, I mean, that was pretty straightforward. There's your quesadilla mix. So you can make, I'm going to say that you can make 3 quesadillas out of this because you don't want to overload your quesadilla because then it won't get crispy or it'll just kind of be mushy in the middle. So 3 quesadillas, 1 pouch. So that's number 1. Let me get my quesadilla started to heat up here. I'm using just a combo shredded cheese. I think this is a Colby Jack. Use whatever cheese you like. Whenever you make quesadillas, everyone has their own way to do it. Some people put oil in the pan, some people don't. I don't generally oil the pan. You don't need to add any more oil to this. If you like to add oil, use some cooking spray, and that will put a really light coat over the pan, and you'll get a little bit more of the cooked crispy with the oil on the tortilla, but not required. Okay, so I'm just gonna let this heat up. The other 2 options you have for making quesadillas is you can put your cheese down first over the entire tortilla, and then you can put your mixture on half of the quesadilla, or you can just add your mixture on half and then put the cheese on top of that and fold it over. I like to put the cheese on the bottom because it puts the cheese on both sides of the filling, and that's just my preference. All right, this is probably going to take a minute to heat up. Should have turned that on a little bit earlier. So I'm going to make 1 quesadilla to show you how to do it, and then I'm going to keep adding to this pot to make this a completely different version of this meal. So the next step that I'm going to do, there it is, now it's warm. I'm just going to put my cheese down. Let me not get ahead of myself. I like to see that the cheese is melting just a little bit before I put the filling in there. Make sure it's not cooking too much. Okay. You can also put your little lid on top of it like this to build up a little steam and to get the cheese to melt before you add your filling. Cool. So the next thing I'm gonna make is, I think it's very out of the box. And some of you may be familiar with this and some of you may not. There's a couple of different names for it. First, I believe this name probably came first from where it originated. It's called shakshuka. And it's basically a tomato sauce with lots of seasonings, sometimes a lot of onion and bell pepper mixed into it. And then what you do is you crack an egg into your sauce, and it's basically like eggs and tomato sauce. And it's delicious. You eat it with crusty bread, or you can eat it over grits or something like that. There we go. Cheese. So I'm going to use this mixture, add some tomato sauce to it. So it's going to be a Tex-Mex style shakshuka. The other name for it is eggs in purgatory. That is, Joy and I were just looking it up. That's more of like an Italian version. The shakshuka version is Middle Eastern. So a lot of Middle Eastern spices in there. See, this is a good amount to fill your quesadilla with. You don't want it to be too overfull. And then you can feed more people if you stretch it just a little bit. All right. Got a little crispy cheese on the bottom there. Okay. So give that just a second. So what I'm going to do to make my shakshuka here, since I took some of the filling, I'm just going to add a little bit more of the filling, which is our jackfruit meal. Okay, all right. Quesadillas go into the plate. We're going to taste all this at the end. Okay, so I'm going to take a little bit of oil. I'm going to put it here so my mix doesn't burn. All across the bottom here. And I'm going to take my mix here and I'm going to add it to this pan, and I'm going to add some tomato sauce to it. Turn it down. So each amount of this meal that I'm using is the equivalent to 1 pouch. So there's that. This is a 28-ounce can of tomato sauce, which is double the bigger can. I don't know how much to use because I'm winging this, and that's how you might do it if you were in your kitchen. So I'm going to add some, mix it up, see if it is like to a loose enough consistency where I can make little cubby holes to put my eggs in, and then we'll just go forward. Okay. I'm just gonna add some tomato sauce. Well, that was about half, so that's about 1 pan. Give it a good mix. Actually, that looks like a really good consistency right there. Because it's kind of soupy, it's not too thick, so you want it to be a little bit loose. Lovely. Okay, so with shakshuka, you can fully cook your eggs on the stove top, or you can take your pan and put it in the oven and finish it off. It depends on how you like your eggs cooked. This dish is usually served with the eggs a little bit runny, so you can dip your little crusty bread into the egg portion and into the tomato sauce portion. But that, totally up to you. I like runny eggs. Joy, how do you like your eggs?
I don't like them. I like them scrambled or over medium.
Over medium. Okay, I will aim for over medium, but no promises because eggs aren't like my strongest point. Okay, so I'm just gonna add a little bit more of my Mexican seasoning to make sure that the tomato sauce part is seasoned really well. So at this point, you can add more of some of the ingredients that are already present in the meal. So we've got corn and we've got beans here. So I pulled out some corn, not corn, some black beans and some kidney beans. And I'm going to add those a little bit later, but I'm gonna add some beans to this. This is gonna be protein packed because we've got jackfruit here and we're gonna add some eggs to it, and we've got some beans. So we are continuing the healthiness of this meal because this is already really high in fiber. So this meal is going to make about 4 servings. But for the sake of showing you how to do it, I'm going to just use 2 eggs. So let me turn this up just a little bit. I want this to be bubbly before I add my eggs so they will cook relatively quick. So I'm just going to give it a second and let it get bubbly because I turned it down so it will not stick and burn. Okay. Has anyone ever had shakshuka before, or eggs in purgatory, or how your family might reference it? It's definitely not something that I grew up with. I was introduced to it in college. I had eggs in a basket where you cut a little hole out of the bread and you put the egg in the little hole. Had that because that's a little more simple, a little easier to wrap your head around. But yeah, I do love this dish. It's very, very good. So the way that you add your eggs is you just make a little circle in the mix and you plop your egg right there into it. You can't really tell here actually. Here's one circle. Here's another circle. I'm gonna plop my eggs in here. A little trick when you're working with eggs, if you're not confident about making sure that you don't include the shell in your egg, wherever you're putting it, you can crack it into a bowl first and make sure that you don't have any shells before you transfer it. I believe many of you are probably experts at cracking eggs. I can't do it with one hand. I wish I could. They're experts. They're experts, yes. We've got some experts who can actually do that. So here's my egg cracked in, no shells, first try. Yeah. So it's starting to bubble, so I'm just gonna add my little egg right here. And then I'm gonna get my other egg. I think my hands are just small when it comes to trying to crack it with one hand. Anybody else with small hands want to try it? I am not good at it. Okay, here's my second little hole for my egg. Cool. You could put a little bit of salt or a little bit of pepper right on the top of your egg, but it's not necessary. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this over the top. That's going to help it cook from the top and from the bottom at the same time. And we're going to aim for over medium. That's my preference too. I like over medium eggs with just a little bit of honey left. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, so from our shakshuka, what is left of this after I remove the cooked eggs? I'm going to take the remaining. I'm going to put it back in this pot. I'm going to add some more of our mix, and I'm going to turn it into a soup because any single serving meal, you can stretch it by adding water and bulk it up with other possibly shelf-stable, fresh, frozen produce. Serve it with a grain, whole grain is good. And then you have a complete meal that is larger and will serve more people. This works for almost any other thing that you can think of. If you're working with a hamburger helper box, add more liquid to it. And that's going to stretch how much salt. It's going to decrease how much salt is in each serving because you're serving more people. You can also use half of the seasoning packet if you're working with a meal that comes in the seasoning packet. So you're looking for one that might be low sodium if you have the opportunity to do that, or just using half of that seasoning packet will help you just decrease the salt. I'm just going to add a little bit of oil to this. And then as soon as it's ready, I'm going to add, this is the other half of my onion that I cut in the beginning. Here. All right. So you're going to know that it's getting close to done whenever the white around the yolk starts to look more white, not clear. So it looks looking good from the bottom there. I'm going to give it just a little bit longer. I'm not timing this at all. So I'll say a few more minutes, but we'll just check it in a couple minutes and see how it looks. Okay, This looks good. I'm going to add my remaining onion. This is going to be like a taco soup. I mean, and that sounds delicious. We add onion. So I've got some of the bits stuck in the bottom from the original mix of the meal and the onions, and that's fine. I'm just gonna scrape it all up and include it since it's the same as the first round. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and add my garlic. The temperature isn't very high. There. Okay, so I'm just gonna give that a minute or so. Look up, add that one here. How's this looking? Okay, you can see the white is starting to cook a little bit more. You can see it a little bit in the camera there. That yellow is still pretty loose. We're gonna keep going. I'm at a medium heat here, so I've got the bubbling happening from the tomato sauce. Nothing is sticking. It's not too hot that it won't burn on the bottom. Oh, there we go. Okay, so taco soup over here. Got my onions and garlic. So this is where soup is where you have like the most ability to expand the types of things that you might add to your packaged meal. I'm gonna pack this with beans. I'm a huge bean person. I love beans. So I'm gonna add a lot of beans. You don't have to add beans if you don't like them, but you could add some other vegetables to add to the fiber content and add bulk without adding like additional fat. That some of us might be worried about. So here we go. This is a really convenient way to make this because you can, without the measurements, you can dump in your can of tomato sauce into here, and then you can just fill up your can of tomato sauce without the tomato and just add some water to it. So you don't need any extra equipment to do this. You can use frozen, already chopped onions. The combo, the mirepoix combo that you can find sometimes in the frozen section with carrots and onions and celery would be really good for this. Almost all soups start with a version of mirepoix, whether it's American. I guess our mirepoix is technically American, but French or other countries have different versions of mirepoix. It could be peppers and onions and celery, or no celery. You know, different versions, different types of onions. Okay, so that's looking good over here. I'm going to, oh, I see this looks really nice. So you can see that the white is completely cooked all the way around. Let me see how this is. It still feels a little loose. I'm just gonna err on the side of caution and cook it a little bit longer so it's a little more done. It's not too runny. It smells amazing. It just smells like, it smells like Mexican tomato sauce. Okay. Here's this. I'm gonna add this remaining bit here. Okay, so here's some chunks. Here's a couple chunks of jackfruit. I don't know if you can see that very well. It's a very light color. It's kind of white, and it's easier to chop up and to separate whenever it's warm. So as this gets heated up, I'll be able to more easily chop this up. You will also maybe find some of the seeds. The jackfruit seeds are part of the, yeah, there we go. This, not very easy to see. That's part of the seed. So when they process this meal with the jackfruit, they included the seeds, which are edible. You can eat the seeds. Okay. So now the fun part, or maybe the hard part, is getting this out of the pan. Let me turn this down low. I'm gonna grab my bowl. Let me see what spatula will work best for this. I'm gonna go with what I have. I'm gonna do it. Go. Scoop under there. Ooh, that was great. A little bit more of that sauce under there. And grab that second egg. There. Yeah. So there is our shakshuka with the Mexican jackfruit meal with added tomato sauce and some more seasoning. I think that was really good.
Delicious. And smells
It's just like a 3 steps up from packaged meal. Okay, so what I'm going to do now. This guy over here. Mix all this together to make some soup. We've got onion and garlic in our jackfruit meal here, and it's really nice and thick. So we're going to thin it out by adding some liquid. So your liquid can be water. It can also be tomato sauce. Tomato sauce will add salt to your dish. So consider what the salt looks like in your original meal before you use tomato sauce. Tomato sauce generally doesn't have a ton of salt added to it. So just keep that in there. Okay, so I wanted to add, I'm actually going to add some diced tomatoes for more texture. These are the petite dice, so the really small diced tomatoes, and then I'm going to keep the liquid because the petite dice, it's just tomato juice that it is taken in. So I'm going to add the whole can here. If you don't like it, don't use it. Try something different. Okay. So I've got my diced tomatoes here. Looks like some good bit of black beans in here. I thought I might use more beans than I anticipated, but it looks like I might not. I'm gonna go ahead and add the rest of the can of black beans. I added this to the shakshuka. So it's kind of chili consistency, so you can eat it this way if you want to. You add liquid and add more liquid to it, you'll serve more people. So don't forget your seasonings, because whenever you add the liquid, you are diluting the flavor. So make sure you're adding some seasonings that match the seasoning of the original. So if you want to eat this like a stew, you can eat it over pasta or rice or a baked potato, a baked sweet potato, some roasted veggies. You can serve it over something else that will continue to extend how many servings you can get at this. So you can eat this as it is, but you can also eat it with something else where you can serve a little bit less of this and have your starch on the side, like brown rice, whole grain pasta. If you don't like that, choose another whole grain later. You don't have to eat whole grain pasta if you don't like it. Okay, so this is more stew consistency. I mean, that looks yummy. Let's see how our jackfruit chunks are looking. See if I can get them. There they go. So just as they have some time to cook through a little bit and get warmer, they're easier to chop up. Okay. I'm going to add some water to this. I'm going to take my measuring cup. Make it more of a soup. good. Ooh, it's delicious. I do have a pouch of frozen mixed veggies that I was considering adding to the soup step here. But I think I don't want to do that. I want it to be as close to the original version as possible. But any time you want to bulk it up, just add some frozen veggies to it, and that'll give you more vegetables. That'll give you more of the nutrients that come from vegetables, and it will extend your meal. Okay, so we need this to heat through a little bit more. Just visually looking at this, there are at least 5 servings of the soup from this one serving pouch. So all we added was water, diced tomatoes, and we added some more black beans and some seasonings. So pretty simple. A lot of staple things that you may have in your pantry that you might have gotten from another visit to a food pantry, or you stocked up because they had a little extra sale at the grocery store. So, okay, sorry, I'm just checking out my video here. Does everything look okay from your end, Joy?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. I got a little, sorry, we're having trouble on the corner of my video, but seems to be fine. Cool. All right. So, soup bowl, let me grab my ladle.
You know, that reminds me of this, like a chicken tortillas.
Yes, it does.
The little end at the bottom of the bag.
I love that idea. That's one of my favorites. Chicken tortilla soup. I think it's less tomatoey chicken tortilla soup, or whatever. Like, call it what you want to. It's kind of the same flavor combinations in there. You can also add more meat to this. I mean, technically there's no meat here because the jackfruit is the meat substitute in this meal. So you could add some canned chicken and make it really simple for yourself when you're preparing your dinner. Or canned chicken will make it more chicken tortilla soup. But I love that, using the crumbs from the bottom of the tortilla bag to top your chicken tortilla soup instead of dumping it all in your mouth at the end, which is also delicious. But extend your meals. Use it for something else. I'm gonna give this a taste and see if we need to add any more seasonings before I serve it up in the bowl. I grew up eating Hamburger Helper. That was one of the things that we could always afford at the grocery store, because we could get meat and then mix it in, and it was just me and my mom. So we would eat that until it was gone. And we would always have a vegetable on the side, and it would usually look like canned green beans or peas and carrots. Peas and carrots was my favorite. And I just kind of wish we knew about this, like how we could make it be a little bit different, because we were used to eating it pretty often. So hopefully this helped you think about how you can reinvent something. Maybe it's something that you eat often, but you can make it be something a little bit different. Okay, that's delicious. It's very tomatoey. Got some of those Mexican seasonings coming through, but not as much as I want. I want to add some more oregano. And I think I'm going to add some more cumin. I think I can taste the chili powder. The measurements. All right, let me see how those jackfruit pieces are coming along. There it goes. Now it's heated through enough. You gotta get it up to boiling to get those jackfruit pieces to break up. Anybody watching ever had jackfruit before or used it as a meat substitute? I have never used it fresh from a whole jackfruit because that is a process. The jackfruits are huge. They're like this big. So you're gonna get a lot of jackfruit from one fruit. But I use it from a can, so you can find it cooked and in a can, and it shreds really easy. Just drain and rinse off the brine. I've made jackfruit like barbecue seasoning, and it doesn't taste like fruit. It tastes like whatever you mix it with.
I've had a curry jackfruit.
Yeah.
It was really like a pre-prepared meal.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yum. This brand also has a curry flavor. Okay, one more taste. I'm gonna turn this down so I don't burn my mouth.
So Lindy, we've had a couple of responses here.
Yeah.
Lindy says that she has seen it but never cooked with it before. And Lisa says that yes, she loves jackfruit.
Nice. Thanks for sharing, friends. I'm gonna add just a little bit of salt. Just because like this meal started at a good salt amount for a serving. So we really extended the smaller amount of salt across many things here.
Louisa also says that jackfruit tacos are her go-to jackfruits.
Yeah. So using some of the Mexican seasonings, Louisa. Sorry, I'm talking to Joy, but talking to you, Louisa. All right, so this is my jackfruit, we can call it like taco soup, chicken tortilla soup, minus the chicken. There's a chicken substitute in there. I think that looks really delicious. With some tortilla chips on top of that, or eat a salad on the side, or serve it over some rice or some pasta. You can call it Mexican pasta if you want to, Mexican inspired pasta. So yeah, those were a few ways to extend something that already has good flavor, may have a little too much in the salt or the fat department, and you can make it healthier and serve more people or serve yourself for more meals. Do you have any questions or comments or anything?
Well, Lisa says that yes, she does add the Mexican flavors to the jackfruit.
Nice. I'm imagining like some dirt tacos with some jackfruit. But I'm a little hungry right now because of all of this. This is like a jerk seasoning and like some pineapple in it.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going way off here, friends. But yeah, I hope that this was helpful. And I would love for you to let us know if you decide to take something that's single serve or serve 2 people and you make it into something brand new, and you can feed your family for more meals. So please let us know. We are right on time for my usual time frame here. The next episode that we do is going to be centered around heart health because February is Heart Health Month. We may be including some sweet things that you can incorporate into your snack rotation that will benefit your heart health, but also dietary sweet too. I would also like to add a shameless plug for Hunger Walk Run, which is going to be completely virtual this year and will go live on March the 7th. So if you haven't already built your teams to raise money for the food bank and our partners, go ahead and start building your teams and supporting your community with monetary support and for food. So thank you all for joining today, and we will see you in 2 weeks on Tuesday. I don't know that number right off the top of my head, but we'll be here same day, same time. Thanks for joining. Bye.